God's chosen one. Listen, you were never meant to stay here. That uneasy feeling, that restlessness, that growing sense that your current life no longer fits you, that's not frustration, it's prophecy. Your spirit is responding to the movement of heaven. Everything around you may still look the same, but something inside of you is shifting. You are being summoned. This is not just another motivational message. This is a divine moment carved into time, custom built for your ears, your heart, your life. Heaven has paused time and bent its breath toward you. You are not here by chance. You didn't just stumble on this message. You have been drawn here. There is a place set for your soul, prepared, preserved, and anointed. And God is about to lead you to it. But first, you must know this. You are not like the rest. You were never meant to blend in. You've been marked, chosen, hand-selected for a purpose so much bigger than comfort, than safety, than routine. You've been sensing it, haven't you? The pull, the tension between what's familiar and what's calling you. That holy discomfort, that's God evicting you from places too small for your destiny. Beloved, your surroundings no longer match your spirit. You've outgrown environments designed for a former version of you. And now, the God who formed you is coming to guide you out. This is a spiritual exodus. Don't mistake the divine for disaster. The chaos you feel is the shaking of chains breaking off your life. People are being removed. Doors are being closed. Habits are being exposed not to destroy you, but to deliver you. God is pulling you out so He can bring you in. You may feel like you're losing things, but in Heaven's eyes, you're gaining focus. You're not being demoted. You're being redirected. God never subtracts without intending to multiply. And where He's taking you, eyes haven't seen it. Ears haven't heard it. But your soul remembers. Even now, something in you knows, I don't belong here anymore. Because you don't. You weren't made to sit in broken circles that suffocate your vision. You weren't meant to stay silent in rooms where your voice was always too much. You weren't created to bow to systems that keep you small just to feel safe. You were called, appointed, marked, set apart. There is a divine GPS inside you, and heaven is reactivating it now. You've delayed long enough. You've second-guessed yourself long enough. You've let the opinions of people keep you on the shore while your destiny waits on the other side of deep waters. But no more. The wind of God is blowing through your spirit, even as you hear this. Listen, every uncomfortable thing you've been feeling is proof that the old territory no longer holds your blessing. And God is taking you somewhere you've never been, but were always meant to go. You're not just walking away from something, you're walking towards something. You're not losing, you're leaving. There is a place set for your soul. It's not made of brick and wood. It's not about geography. It's about glory. This is a spiritual address, a realm where you fully align with heaven's assignment for your life. That place, that next dimension, it's not a fantasy. It's your next reality. But you must move. There is no more room for compromise. No more space for delay. No more waiting on perfect timing. The perfect time is now. You've seen the signs. You've heard the whispers. And this message, it is the confirmation your spirit has been pleading for. Listen to the word of the Lord. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. You're not forgotten. You're not forsaken. You're chosen. And your time is now. If this resonates with you, if your heart is burning with recognition, don't let this moment pass you by. Comment below. 777 as a prophetic sign that you're stepping into the place set for your soul. Click like if you know this was for you. Share this with someone else whose spirit is awakening. And subscribe now so you never miss a moment like this again. Because you are not just watching this, you're walking into it. A holy disruption has been sent. And yes, at first, it may feel like everything around you is falling apart. Plans are unraveling. Friendships are shifting. The things that used to bring you comfort now feel strangely distant, like garments that no longer fit. But make no mistake, what you are experiencing is not chaos, it is recalibration. Heaven is shaking the very ground beneath your feet, not to break you, but to break you free, because God, in His mercy, will disrupt your comfort before He allows it to destroy your calling. You see, the enemy is subtle. He doesn't always fight you with disaster. Sometimes, he uses the slow suffocation of comfort to lull you into complacency. He uses routine like a noose, quietly convincing you to settle for almost and not quite, until your dreams grow dusty and your destiny falls asleep. But you, chosen one, you were never called to sleep through your life. You were called to shake nations. And so God disrupts. He steps in. He interrupts the cycle. He throws your plans off course so He can reveal His. And though it hurts at first, though you might cry, question, plead, and wonder why it is grace disguised as grief. Because sometimes, before God shows you the path ahead, He must make you too uncomfortable to stay where you are. Look closely at the storm around you. Don't just ask what is happening, ask why. Ask what is being exposed. Ask what is being dismantled. Because the winds you fear may be the breath of God, blowing you forward into the place where your soul was always meant to dwell. Your plans, they were too small. Your vision, too limited. Your dreams, still contained by past wounds and past words. So God has sent a disruption not as punishment, but as alignment. He is rerouting you in real time. There are some connections you thought were permanent, but God is showing you they were seasonal. There are places you thought you'd stay forever, but God is showing you they were only launch pads. And there are roles you thought defined you, but God is showing you that your identity is not what you do. It's who you are in Him. You may feel like things are being ripped away, but in truth, you are being reintroduced to who you really are. This holy disruption is heaven's way of pressing pause on everything that was never meant to go with you into the next dimension. The illusions are being torn down, the counterfeits are being revealed, and your soul, once dulled by routine, is now fully awake. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. God has heard the quiet cries of your heart, those prayers whispered in dark rooms, those moments when you said, there has to be more than this. This is the more. But the path to it doesn't come through comfort. It comes through obedience in the midst of divine disruption. Let the shaking do its work. Let the breaking do its work. Let the uncomfortable silence between chapters stretch you into someone who no longer begs for crumbs when a table has already been prepared for you. Because this is where the miracle begins. Right here, in the unfamiliar. right here in the stripping away, right here in the silence after the storm has passed, but before the next word is spoken. God is not absent in the disruption. He is active. He is closer now than you think, hovering over the waters of your transition, separating light from darkness, calling out destiny from the void. We find in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 2, "Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." Even when you feel empty, especially then, He is hovering. He is watching. He is moving. So don't resist the divine shaking. Don't cling to what's fading. Don't fight to hold on to what God is trying to release from your hands, because what He is doing in this disruption is far greater than anything you've lost. And when the dust settles, you will not only see the hand of God, you will see the heart of God. You'll understand why certain doors had to shut. You'll understand why the detour was necessary. You'll understand why the wilderness was the only path to the promised place. And most of all, you'll understand that even in your confusion, you were being carried. This wilderness is not a punishment. It is a womb. You may feel lost. You might feel like God has gone quiet. But this silence, it's not distance. It's design. You are not abandoned. You are being formed. Everything around you might seem dry and empty. But don't be deceived by the environment. The wilderness is where heaven does its most holy work. It's not a delay. It's divine development. The wilderness is the sacred workshop where your spirit is reshaped, your identity clarified, and your assignment prepared. You're not wandering. You're being woven. God hides what He values. He never releases greatness without first guarding it in obscurity. That's why you felt invisible. That's why people don't understand you. That's why doors didn't open when you knocked. You weren't forgotten, you were being preserved. You've been pulled away from distractions so your spirit can learn the sound of His voice. You've been distanced from false comforts so you can recognize true peace. You've been placed in the fire, not to be consumed, but to be refined, shaped by the flames, not scorched by them. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart." God is not testing you to expose your weakness. He is testing you to reveal your strength, the strength He placed inside you. You see, the wilderness strips away every false label. It removes every performance mask. It dismantles every crutch you once leaned on. It leaves you raw, honest, and fully dependent on God. That's the goal. Not to break you, but to bring you back to Him, to what is real, holy, and eternal. And yes, it's hard. You cry in secret. You question your worth. You wonder if the promise is still true. But even here, in this wild and weary place, heaven is watching. Every tear is noticed. Every whisper is heard. Every quiet act of obedience is recorded. Because while the world has gone silent around you, the realm of the Spirit is roaring with movement. Things are shifting. Chains are cracking. Heaven is speaking. Something is being birthed inside of you. And birth is never easy. It comes with pressure, with labor, with stretching, but it always leads to life. It always ends in something new, something that could not be formed without the pain. You are in the middle of becoming. No one sees it. No one claps for it. No one validates it. But God is doing his deepest work in the dark. The foundation being laid now will hold up what's coming next. Don't rush it. Don't despise it. Don't curse the soil that is actually feeding your roots. The deeper it goes, the higher he plans to build. Chosen one. Every dry place is producing oil. Every lonely place is teaching you intimacy with God. Every delay is protection. Every no is mercy. Every detour is a redirection towards something better. The wilderness is heaven's training ground. Even Jesus was led into the wilderness by the Spirit. He was tested. He was tempted. He faced lack, rejection, and isolation. But when he came out, he didn't come out broken. He came out in power. So, will you? You may not feel strong right now. You may not see results. But your obedience in the wilderness is shaking things in the unseen. Strongholds are breaking. Patterns are dying. Old identities are falling off. And the real you, the anointed, set apart, undeniable you is rising. Let the wilderness finish its holy work. Let it teach you how to hear when no one is speaking. Let it teach you how to trust when you can't trace the path. Let it teach you how to stand on the word even when the winds are wild. Let it stretch your spirit until it touches things that comfort never could. Because this is not punishment. This is preparation. Comment, still I trust. Say it in the silence. Say it through the ache. Say it even when the answers don't come. Say it as a declaration that you may not understand this season, but you refuse to abort what heaven is birthing. Still I trust, because I know who's leading me. And if your spirit feels that this word was speaking directly to your current season, then don't keep it to yourself. You are not behind. You are on heaven's timeline. And when the cloud lifts, you'll know where to go next. But for now, stay rooted. Stay faithful. Let the wilderness turn you into the warrior you were born to be. Not just shaped by the silence, but strengthened in it. You've never truly belonged. And the truth is, you were never supposed to, from your earliest moments. Something inside of you sensed it. No matter how hard you tried to blend in, you stood out. No matter how much you adjusted, shifted, shrank, or silenced yourself, something still made you different. You watched others thrive in places where you felt confined. You heard their laughter while carrying battles in silence. You longed for belonging, but your spirit kept tugging at something higher, something beyond the circle, beyond the crowd. And now, you're beginning to understand why. You are a misfit, not because you are flawed, but because you are marked. God doesn't choose the ones who fit in. He chooses the ones who break the mold, the ones who don't conform, the ones who question, who wrestle, who see what others are afraid to acknowledge, the ones who feel everything deeply, speak boldly, and carry burdens that don't belong to them, but lift them anyway. That weight you carry, that's not weakness. That's witness. It is proof that God has placed something inside you that doesn't align with the world around you. And yes, it can feel lonely. Being set apart always does. You look around and wonder, why do I feel out of place? The answer is simple: because you are. You weren't created to replicate what already exists. You were born to introduce something heaven hasn't released before. That means you'll walk roads few understand. You'll carry revelations that won't be celebrated at first. You'll speak truth that makes others uncomfortable, not because you want to provoke, but because your voice is tuned to a higher frequency. It's not rebellion, it's revelation. God has placed a prophetic edge on your life. That edge cuts through superficiality. It disrupts cycles. It demands depth. It refuses to settle for surface-level faith or convenient obedience. And because of that, you'll feel the tension. You'll feel the friction when you try to fit in places where your spirit doesn't agree. You'll feel drained in conversations that don't honor your depth. You'll sense the internal resistance every time you try to play small to avoid being noticed. That resistance is divine. It is heaven reminding you. You were not sent here to fit in. You were sent here to stand out. Even Jesus, the Son of God, was rejected in his own hometown. Even he was too much for the systems of his day. Too bold, too direct, too divine. And yet, he never toned himself down to be more acceptable. He didn't come to be tolerated. He came to transform. So why should your journey look different? You are called to disrupt, to rebuild, to carry what hasn't been carried before. But first, you must make peace with the reality that you won't always be understood. That's hard, especially when your heart is tender, especially when all you wanted was to be embraced, welcomed, and seen. But this is where maturity begins, when you no longer chase approval as a measurement of value, when you no longer require applause to affirm your anointing, when you no longer shrink your light just to keep others comfortable in their darkness. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 62, verse 12, "They will be called the holy people, the redeemed of the Lord, and you will be called sought after, the city no longer deserted." End of 4. That is who you are. Not forgotten, not abandoned, not left out. You are sought after. You are being trained in the wilderness of rejection so that when the spotlight comes, your identity is not swayed by crowds or critics. Let the pruning happen. Let the shedding continue. Let the old systems of validation fall to the ground, because God is reintroducing you to yourself, the version He always saw before life told you who to be. You are not the outsider. You are the original. You're not a copy. You're a blueprint. Your footsteps are pioneering trails that others will someday walk on. Your obedience is unlocking answers for people you haven't even met yet. And no, they may not understand you now, but one day, they'll thank God for the fire you carried when no one else would. So keep walking, even if it's alone, even if it's misunderstood, even if it's quiet, because what you're becoming in this hidden season is holy. Your difference is not your weakness, it's your assignment. There's a weight to being chosen. There's a cost to carrying glory. There's a fire that comes with being set apart. But what's coming is worth it. Keep going. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to ignite. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the cycle must end. When the soul can no longer afford to circle the same emotional mountain. When your destiny demands that you stop rehearsing old pain, stop entertaining old voices, and stop revisiting the same spiritual patterns that once kept you safe but now keep you stuck. You've come to that moment. This is the place where the old has lost its grip, and the new hasn't fully arrived, but the ground is rumbling beneath your feet. It's time. No more circling. You've done enough of that. You've replayed the same wounds in your mind. You've stayed in spaces you've long outgrown. You've said yes to things your spirit was already saying no to. But now, the Holy Spirit is pressing on your heart and saying, you can't stay here anymore. This is not the season to maintain. This is the season to move. God has been patient. He's allowed you time to heal, to recover, to process. But now, He's shifting you into motion. And if you try to cling to what was relationships, habits, thought patterns, you will start to feel the friction in your spirit, not because you're out of alignment with God's love, but because you're out of step with God's movement. You were not created to circle mountains. You were created to take territory. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 2, verse 3, "You have circled this mountain long enough. Now turn north." This is your turning moment. Turning requires courage. Turning means letting go of what felt familiar. It means trusting that where God is leading you is better than the cycles you've survived. And it means understanding that obedience is not just about hearing God's voice, it's about responding to it. The longer you delay, the more you begin to feel disoriented. That's why some things that used to feel normal now feel heavy. Why conversations that once entertained you now drain you. Why routines that kept you stable now feel suffocating. Because heaven has moved, and now you must move with it. You were never meant to dwell in the wilderness forever. Yes, it was necessary for a season. It taught you how to depend on God, how to discern His voice, how to survive when no one else saw your struggle. But survival is not your final destination. God is calling you out of the cycle, out of the fog, out of the loop of delay and doubt and fear. He's cutting the soul ties that kept you bound to people who could not carry your promise. He's shutting the doors that led you in circles, not to punish you, but to position you. Every time you take a step out of that old cycle, heaven marks it. Every time you say no to what once enslaved you, the kingdom advances. Every time you choose freedom over familiarity, you are taking back territory the enemy tried to keep for himself. It's time to come out of the old pattern of procrastination, out of the fear of not being enough, out of the comfort zone that coddled your potential. God is not just calling you forward, He is walking with you. The same God who met you in the wilderness is now calling you into the land. And this time, you won't just see the promise, you'll step into it. You won't be circling anymore. You'll be crossing over. And if this word resonates deeply with you, if you know in your spirit that this is your moment to break free, don't let it pass without responding. Take a breath, acknowledge the shift, and make your move. If this message found you right where you are and spoke to what no one else can see, click like as a simple way of saying, I receive it. I dwell. If you know someone else who's been stuck in a cycle mentally, emotionally, spiritually, share this with them. Sometimes one timely word is all it takes to set a soul in motion. And if this is your kind of word, if you want to stay in the flow of what God is revealing in this hour, go ahead and subscribe. Not just to content, but to the movement, because this is more than a video, it's a call forward. No more circling, no more delay, no more waiting for perfect timing, no more asking for confirmation when the confirmation is already alive inside your spirit. No more overthinking what God has already made clear. No more apologizing for your readiness. This is not a rehearsal. This is your release. And it begins now. God says, turn now, and you are ready. You felt it for a while now, an invisible pull. A weight on your spirit that doesn't come from fear or anxiety, but from something deeper, a holy longing, a restlessness that doesn't come from lack, but from divine displacement. You are not where you used to be, but you're not quite where you're going either. This in-between space is sacred. You're not drifting. You're being drawn, not by pressure, but by prophecy, not by force, but by invitation. Your soul is responding to the coordinates of your assignment. The next chapter of your life already exists. It's just waiting on your obedience. And this is the shift few recognize. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or fanfare. It comes quietly. A door in your spirit swings open. A holy awareness rises. Suddenly, old things lose flavor. Old ambitions lose power. What once satisfied now feels shallow. And deep within, you sense it. God is calling you forward. But not just geographically, not just emotionally. He's calling you spiritually. There is a realm, a space in the spirit, where what you carry will finally come into alignment with where He is taking you. A place of rest. Yes, but also of responsibility. A place where your purpose doesn't just echo, it lands. The weight you've been feeling is not heaviness, it's activation. This is the stirring that comes before movement. This is the tension between where you are and where heaven has declared you will be. Your feet may be planted here, but your assignment is pulling you there. You're already transitioning in the spirit. That's why people don't understand you anymore. That's why conversations feel disconnected. That's why your spirit feels too big for the container of your current life. Because you're not just changing, you're ascending. And God is already speaking to the new version of you. The one who has laid down false identity. The one who has buried the fear of man. The one who is willing to let go of what's good in order to receive what's God. It is written in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 5. Do not come any closer. God said, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. That is what this moment is. Holy ground. You may still be in the hallway, but the next door is already unlocked. And the moment you take your shoes off, the moment you humble yourself and recognize where you are, He reveals what's next. This is not just a season change. It's a spiritual relocation. And you must respond, not by striving, not by proving, but by surrendering. Let God uproot what needs to go. Let Him highlight what can't come with you. Let Him sever the ties that look harmless but drain your oil. Let Him clarify what's you and what's Him. Because where you're going, purity matters, clarity matters, obedience matters. This isn't about stepping into more, it's about stepping into what fits. You've worn garments that were never tailored for your purpose. You've stood in rooms that clapped for you but never saw you. You've fought battles that weren't even yours to fight. And now, God is calling you to the place where your soul doesn't have to strive, it simply has to stand. Where your name doesn't have to be defended because your fruit will speak for you. Where your light doesn't have to be dimmed because the space was built to hold it. Where your voice doesn't have to tremble because the atmosphere was created for truth. Chosen one. This is why the pressure has increased. Because you are nearing the border of your divine territory. Every delay, every detour, every stretch has not been wasted. It was preparation for this. Heaven is not just watching, it is moving with you. The ground beneath your feet is becoming sacred with every step of obedience you take. And if you've felt this shift in your soul, if you know that what you're stepping into carries weight, but your spirit says, yes, anyway, respond now. Not with fear, not with hesitation, but with agreement. Comment 444. Let this number be your sign of divine alignment. 4 is the number of foundation. The triple repetition is no coincidence. It symbolizes that what God is establishing in you is stable, holy, and sealed in heaven. This is your moment of response. Say yes with your spirit. Say yes with your walk. Say yes with your surrender. Because the place that is calling you is not new. It's just been waiting for the new you. There is a war happening within you, a quiet, invisible battle that no one else sees. It's the war between comfort and calling, between staying where it's safe and stepping into the unknown, between who you've been and who you are becoming. You feel it every time you try to rest in a place that no longer nourishes your spirit. You sense it every time you try to return to what once worked, only to find that it no longer fits. You've been faithful. You've waited. You've endured. But now you're standing at a spiritual crossroads, and heaven is requiring a decision. Will you choose comfort or will you choose calling? Because you cannot have both. Comfort is rooted in familiarity. It clings to what you've already mastered, what others applaud, what doesn't threaten your ego or expose your fears. Calling, on the other hand, invites you into unfamiliar territory. It stretches your faith, confronts your inner doubts, and demands that you walk with God, even when you can't see the full map. Comfort makes you feel safe. Calling makes you holy. And in this season, God is not preserving your comfort, He's provoking your calling. You've been circling certain patterns because you've hesitated to go all in. You've questioned yourself, doubted your readiness, wondered if you heard God correctly. But He never asked you to feel ready. He asked you to be willing. Abraham didn't feel ready when he left everything familiar behind. Moses didn't feel ready when he returned to Egypt to face Pharaoh. Esther didn't feel ready when she stood before the king, but they obeyed, and heaven moved through their yes. Right now, you are being invited to say yes, not to a plan, but to a person, not to certainty, but to presence, to God Himself. That's what calling is, not a glamorous destination, but a surrendered journey. It is a daily agreement to walk with the one who sees further than you do. And as you walk, He will begin to separate you from what cannot follow. That's where the pain comes in. Because calling is costly. It costs the applause of people who only supported the old version of you. It costs the convenience of blending in. It costs the illusion of control. But it always rewards you with clarity, conviction, and anointing. And that's what's been happening in you. Even if you couldn't name it, your language is shifting. Your priorities are realigning. Your desires are being purified. You no longer want what you used to want. You no longer seek what you used to crave. Because something in your spirit has matured. It no longer finds peace in shallow waters. You were made for depth. That's why your comfort zone has become your battleground. God will not let you settle here, not because He is angry with you, but because He sees what's ahead. He knows the fullness of the assignment on your life. He knows what your yes will unlock for you. And for others, connected to your obedience, every breakthrough you're asking for is on the other side of movement. Every answered prayer is waiting in the land of obedience. But obedience often looks like leaving what's comfortable without a guaranteed outcome. And that's what faith is. It's not always walking with confidence. Sometimes it's walking with trembling knees and a steady spirit. It's saying, God, I don't know what this next step will look like, but I trust the one who's calling me to take it. Flourish. It is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 6, "And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him." God is not asking you to leap blindly. He's asking you to trust the one who already sees the outcome. The comfort you're tempted to cling to, it's not safety, it's stagnation. And the discomfort you feel in this moment, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You're being shaped for something greater. You're being invited to carry weight others can't carry, to walk roads others refuse to walk, to speak what others won't speak. But to do that, you must move. Let go of what no longer aligns. Release the identity comfort tried to build for you. Stand up in the fullness of your calling, even if your voice shakes. Because when you do, when you finally break out of the shell of survival and step fully into surrender, you'll realize the war was never between you and the world. It was between your potential and your permission. And now, heaven is waiting on your yes. You've been seeing things others can't see, sensing things others ignore, carrying things others don't understand. This is the weight of vision. You weren't given eyes to admire the obvious. You were given eyes that pierce through illusion, that see the deeper meaning, that catch divine patterns hidden beneath the noise. And that kind of vision is not common. It's consecrated. That's why you've often felt like the odd one in the room. You hear from heaven differently. You notice when something is off in the atmosphere. You speak up when everyone else stays silent. And at times, you've questioned yourself, wondered if maybe you were imagining things. You weren't. You were seeing things that weren't meant to be explained in human language. You were carrying revelation too early for the crowd. Because God didn't give you vision to fit in, He gave it so you could lead. But here's the truth they rarely tell you. Vision is costly. It isolates. It burdens. It provokes warfare. Because once you see, you can't unsee. Once God opens your eyes to the truth, to destiny, to calling, you are ruined for the ordinary. You can't go back to apathy. You can't tolerate what you used to laugh off. You can't pretend not to notice what grieves the spirit. That's the cost. It's why you don't feel at home in surface-level environments. Why shallow friendships drain you. Why entertainment no longer satisfies you. You were designed to live at a higher altitude. And the higher you go, the clearer your vision becomes and the thinner the air gets. Fewer people can breathe up there. Fewer want to. But you weren't made to live with blurred spiritual sight just to stay comfortable. You were made to see clearly, even if it meant walking alone. Because what you see now is not for now, it's for what's coming. God trusts you with previews of what others will only understand years later. He whispers secrets in your spirit in the midnight hours, not so you can boast, but so you can build. You are a forerunner, a divine scout, sent ahead of the crowd to prepare the way. And that comes with a burden. People will resist what they don't yet perceive. They'll question your urgency. They'll mock your focus. They'll label your fire as too much. Oh, but your vision is not for their validation. It's for the assignment. And the assignment requires clarity. That's why God has been sharpening your focus. That's why He's been refining your discernment. That's why He's been separating you from confusion, from manipulation, from distractions that blur your spiritual sight. You don't have time to live double-minded, not with what's coming, not with what you've been called to steward. The prophet Habakkuk understood this weight. It is written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 2. Then the Lord replied, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it." That's what you're called to do. Not just carry the vision, but write it, live it, walk it out, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when no one claps. Because what you see is not about ego, it's about eternity. Visionaries often walk through silence before recognition. They endure spiritual nausea from carrying something not yet born. But when it comes forth, it doesn't just bless you, it awakens generations. So, no, it's not easy, but it's necessary. And God is with you in the wait. He's with you in the quiet. He's with you in the wrestle. He's also with you in the timing. Sometimes the hardest part of carrying vision is not seeing it, it's waiting on it. Waiting for the right doors. Waiting for the right support. Waiting for heaven's appointed hour. But trust this, when the time comes, no force in hell or on earth can stop what God is birthing through you. Because He gave you those eyes not to torment you, but to trust you. He knew you would feel the burden deeply. He knew you would be misunderstood. He also knew you would say yes anyway. You don't just carry vision, you carry weight. Emotional, spiritual, even physical at times. That heaviness in your chest, that exhaustion you feel after simply being in a room full of spiritual noise. It's not weakness, it's discernment. You are picking up on what others ignore, and that sensitivity is part of your assignment. Sometimes, the spiritual sight you carry causes internal tension. Your body is in one place, but your spirit is in another. You see the potential of people even when they don't see it in themselves. You see the danger of decisions before the consequences come. That's why you speak with urgency when others hesitate. It's not control, it's clarity. And even if no one thanks you, God does. Heaven honors the hidden ones who watch on the wall when everyone else is sleeping. So, take heart. You're not imagining the weight. You're just carrying what was never meant to be light. You are not forgotten. You are hidden. And that's not the same thing. When something is forgotten, it's abandoned, dismissed, left behind. But when something is hidden, it's being protected, preserved, and prepared for an appointed time. You, chosen one, are in that time of hiddenness, not because God has turned away from you, but because He's turning you into something weightier than the world is ready to see right now. It doesn't feel glamorous. It doesn't always feel holy. In fact, most days, it feels like you're overlooked, like you've been passed by, like you've been doing all the right things. And yet somehow, nothing is moving. The world around you seems loud, fast, and full of people who are always being seen, chosen, and celebrated, while you remain in silence. But what if the silence isn't a punishment? What if it's a shield? God is not slow. He is strategic. He doesn't reveal what isn't ready. He doesn't launch what isn't stable. And He will never let you be exposed to a platform that your soul and spirit aren't prepared to carry. Because elevation without foundation becomes collapse. Right now, He's building your foundation. You're not stuck, you're stationed. You're not missing your moment, you're being made for the moment. God always hides what is holy. Moses was hidden in a basket. Joseph was hidden in a prison. Jesus Himself was hidden for 30 years before one miracle was ever recorded. Why? Because sacred assignments require secret preparation. And right now, heaven is refining you in the quiet, so that when your name is called, you won't have to scramble to become ready. You'll already be. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 2. He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand, he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. You are that arrow, not forgotten, but drawn back, not delayed, but aimed. And when the appointed time comes, God will release you with precision into the exact target He's had in mind all along. But here's the challenge. Hidden seasons often feel like wasted ones. You've prayed, you've obeyed, you've stayed faithful behind the scenes. And yet, nothing looks different. But the real transformation isn't external, it's happening within. God is shaping your mindset, softening your heart, fortifying your spirit. He's detoxing you from needing the crowd's approval, teaching you how to stand when no one claps, how to obey when no one's watching. He's showing you that your validation never came from visibility. It came from intimacy with Him. That's why this hidden place matters. It's where your roots grow deep, so that when the winds of public pressure come, you won't be moved. It's where your ears are tuned to His whisper, so that when the noise of opportunity surrounds you, you'll still know His voice. It's where your faith is proven not by what you produce, but by how you wait. And this waiting is not passive, it's active obedience. You're not sitting still, you're surrendering. You're not being overlooked, you're being overhauled. And one day soon, the shift will come. The doors will open. The silence will break. The timing will align. And people will say, where did they come from? But heaven will say, they've been ready. Until then, stay hidden. Let God finish what He started. Let Him complete the healing, the sharpening, the preparation. Because you weren't meant to emerge prematurely. You were meant to arrive appointed. Comment, keep me hidden. Let that be your agreement today, not a cry to be seen, but a declaration of trust. If you can surrender to the season no one claps for, you'll be prepared for the one they won't forget. You're not behind. You're not off track. You are right where God has placed you, covered, held, and hidden beneath His hand. And when He says, now, nothing will stop the release. But until that day, trust the shadows, trust the cave, trust the quiet classroom of hiddenness where God teaches without a spotlight. Trust the silence that sharpens your hearing. Trust the delays that strip away pride. Trust the long nights when no one texts back, when no one asks how you're doing, because it's in those nights that heaven leans in closest. You are not wasting time. You are being trusted with time. The world rushes. Heaven roots. And when your roots are deep enough, your fruit will last longer than trends, titles, or temporary attention. Let God write the long story with your life, one that won't burn out, break down, or bow to pressure. The cycle ends here. You've circled this mountain long enough. You've battled the same thoughts, wrestled the same fears, carried the same patterns, and now God is putting His hand on your shoulder and saying, enough, not with anger, but with authority. Because when God declares the end of a cycle, no demon, distraction, or delay can keep it alive. This is that moment. The spiritual ground beneath you is shifting. Cycles don't just happen in the natural, they're spiritual loops designed to keep you stuck. Loops of insecurity, loops of almost but never, loops of getting close to breakthrough but sabotaging it out of fear, loops of returning to what wounded you because it's familiar. But God didn't call you to familiar, He called you to freedom. And that means the mountain must break, the loop must close, the lie must lose its power. Sometimes we repeat cycles because we think we're still waiting on God, when in reality, He's been waiting on us to believe, waiting on us to move, waiting on us to trust Him enough to let go of what's broken and reach for what's blessed. But that cycle can't come with you into your next. You can't carry the bitterness and expect beauty to grow. You can't carry the guilt and expect grace to multiply. You can't carry the offense and expect fresh oil. God is serious about your healing. And when He decides it's time to break a cycle, it means He's ready to rebuild the story. But you must say yes. Yes to the process. Yes to the release. Yes to the next chapter, even if you don't know the title yet. It is written in the book of Joshua, chapter 5, verse 9. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." End of Psalm. That's what's happening in your life. The weight of old seasons, the shame of past failures, the grip of dead identity, it's being rolled away. God is cleansing your record, not just in heaven, but in your own mind, because you've punished yourself too long for what God already forgave. You've built altars around shame. You've repeated words that heaven never spoke over you. But no more. This is where you break agreement with the old. This is where the soul ties snap. This is where the patterns of self-doubt are buried. It's not just about deliverance, it's about disconnection. You can't just be set free from a cycle. You must also disconnect from the desire to return to it. And that's what God is doing in you now. Not just breaking the pattern, but removing the taste for it. Healing the appetite that kept feeding dysfunction. Awakening you to the truth that what once felt normal was never meant to be natural. The wilderness trained you, but it was never your home. You were not meant to live in survival mode forever. There is a promised place waiting for you, and it requires a different mindset, a healed heart, a soul unshackled from yesterday. So here's what you need to know. You are allowed to move forward. You are allowed to stop apologizing for changing. You are allowed to embrace the new thing God is doing, even if others don't understand. Cycles often keep us loyal to things we've outgrown. But God is severing false loyalty now. You're not betraying anyone by becoming healthy. You're not dishonoring your past by stepping into your future. You're not abandoning people. You're answering heaven. So go. Go where peace leads. Go where purpose speaks. Go where the cloud is moving. Because this mountain, you've seen it enough. And if your spirit knows this was for you, if something deep inside you feels like a weight has lifted, then pause for a moment. Click like to mark this moment in faith. Share it with someone else who's been stuck in a loop that's silently draining their destiny. And if you want to stay connected to what God is speaking in this hour, subscribe now. This isn't just about content. It's about movement, real, prophetic movement in the lives of God's chosen ones. The cycle ends here, not because you're perfect, but because you've chosen to obey, not because you've earned it, but because grace has called you out. And when God says, move, The only thing left to do is walk forward. Even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles, even if you don't know where the next step leads, just walk. Because obedience will carry you where fear never could. And on the other side of this step is everything you were born for. You are not chasing something that doesn't exist. You are walking into a place that has already been prepared. What God has for you is not an illusion, not a fantasy, not a vague hope hanging in the clouds. It is real, tangible, appointed, established, and it has your name written into its foundation. You're not trying to create something from scratch. You're aligning yourself with what heaven already built. This is not about striving. It's about stepping into alignment. Too often, we believe we have to earn what God freely planned. We treat our purpose like a prize to be unlocked through performance, forgetting that what God initiates is never earned, it's received. What He's calling you into isn't unlocked by your perfection, but by your obedience. You're not being sent to chase down a promise, you're being invited to inherit it. And inheritance always follows identity. God is not bringing you into something random. He is bringing you into what He designed with you in mind. Your experiences, your scars, your voice, your story. It all matches the land He's calling you into. That land is not a mistake. It's not just opportunity. It's an answer. The answer to the prayers you forgot you prayed. The answer to the ache that wouldn't leave your chest. The answer to the quiet frustration that told you, there has to be more than this. Yes. There is more, and it's already waiting. The question is not, is it real? The question is, will you be ready when you arrive? Because the place is prepared. The provision is in place. The doors are unlocked. But if your soul is still tethered to the pain of the last season, you may walk into the new one carrying the old posture and forfeit what was meant to flourish. That's why this season has felt heavy. God hasn't been delaying the promise. He's been preparing you to carry it. It's not just about entering the place. It's about surviving in it. It's about thriving in it. It's about ruling from it. Because what you're stepping into is not small. It carries weight, authority, visibility, impact. And those things can only be sustained by someone who has been deeply refined, someone who has walked through the fire and didn't quit, someone who has lost much, but never let go of God. Someone like you. It is written in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 9, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love Him. Oh, prepared. That word alone should stop you in your tracks. Prepared means He thought of it before you arrived. Prepared means He made room for you. Prepared means He took your weaknesses into account and still said, yes, they're the one. Oh, there is a divine symmetry to what's coming, a supernatural fit. You won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate it. You won't have to pretend to be someone else to keep it, because it was built with you in mind. This place, this season, this role, this room, it won't crush you. It will confirm you. It will call out the parts of you that have been buried under years of doubt and delay. It will water the gifts you've only dared to use in private. It will draw out the leadership you developed in silence. And when you arrive, something in your soul will whisper, this is it. Not because it's easy, not because it's glamorous, but because it feels like home. Not the kind of home made by walls and windows, but the kind of home only heaven can build. The kind of home that recognizes your spirit. The kind of home that pulls destiny out of you with every step you take. So don't let fear lie to you. Don't let your past define you. Don't let the delay distort what's ahead. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for what's already waiting. It's not your job to force it open. It's your job to stay in step. Obey. Trust. Heal. Grow. And when the time comes, walk in not as a stranger, but as someone who belongs there, with your head held high, with your spirit steady, with your heart humbled by the process, but strengthened by the fire. You won't need to explain your presence. Your preparation will speak for itself. Because what you're walking into was always yours. There comes a moment in the life of every chosen one when you must stop questioning what God has already confirmed in your spirit. You've waited. You've wept. You've warred silently. And now, you're standing on the edge of something sacred. Not just a breakthrough, but a belonging. You're not about to stumble into a random opportunity. You are stepping into the place your soul has always known, even before your mind could explain it. This is the place where your feet and your spirit finally agree. You've wandered through dry seasons. You've fought through silence. You've endured environments that tried to convince you that you were too much, too broken, too different. But through it all, you've stayed faithful. You've kept listening. You've kept showing up in the spirit, even when nothing made sense in the natural. And now, your alignment is meeting your assignment. This is not just a place you visit. It's the land you were born to inhabit. What you're feeling right now isn't hype. It's recognition. Your soul is responding to divine territory. The moment when everything unfamiliar somehow feels like home, that's what happens when heaven leads you to the land prepared for you. Your spirit doesn't need a tour. It simply says, yes, this is it. I love you. You were made for this place, and it was made for you. It's not about status. It's about spiritual fit. You won't have to force your voice here. You won't have to downplay your gift. You won't have to apologize for your light. Because this space was crafted for the exact rhythm of your anointing. It is written in the book of Psalm, chapter 37, verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. End. Your steps haven't been random. They've been ordered. Even the ones that felt like detours. Even the seasons you thought were wasted. They were all part of the path, each one shaping you, breaking you, refining you until you could recognize what's yours. And now you do. That's why your appetite has changed. Why you no longer crave what once sustained you. You've outgrown the shallow, the performative, the surface level. You're not interested in pretending to be okay just to keep people comfortable. You want real presence, real purpose, real peace. And this place, this land God is leading you into, is not a reward for performance. It's a revelation of identity. You're not here because you earned it. You're here because you endured. You didn't quit when it was quiet. You didn't give up when it got hard. You didn't lose your grip on the promise, even when your hands were trembling. This is heaven's response to your consistency in the wilderness. It's not about how loud you were, it's about how rooted you became. And now, God is saying, step in. This is yours. You'll feel it before you see it. You'll know before others confirm it. Because the place your soul belongs to has a frequency only you can fully hear. And right now, heaven is tuning your spirit to that frequency. You are no longer searching, you are settling into purpose. This is a holy homecoming, not the kind that celebrates your arrival with claps and fanfare, but the kind that wraps your spirit in peace, the kind that whispers, "You don't have to fight anymore. Just be who I created you to be." And so breathe, rest, and trust what you're sensing. This isn't just a step forward. It's a spiritual claim. God is handing you keys not just to opportunities, but to inheritance. Not just to platforms, but to places where your legacy will take root. And if you feel your spirit saying yes to this, if you feel the peace rising, even as you read this, respond in faith. Comment 555. Let this be your prophetic agreement. 5 is the number of grace. 3 5s, that's triple grace for the journey ahead. Grace for the transition. Grace for the territory. Grace for the weight of what you're walking into. Declare it not just with your mouth, but with your movement. Type it, speak it, walk it. Because what you're stepping into now, you were born for it. And don't be surprised if it comes quietly. God doesn't always send thunder when His will arrives. Sometimes it walks in through ordinary doors, wrapped in stillness. Sometimes it feels small, even though it holds massive spiritual weight. But don't underestimate the moment. Heaven is in it. God doesn't need noise to prove something is divine. He just needs your yes. So stand tall, walk boldly, and when your feet touch this land, this spiritual territory, you'll know, this is the place my soul was made for. Not every storm in your life came to destroy you. Some was sent to deliver you. There are moments in the life of every chosen one when the shaking begins, not because you've done something wrong, but because you're being set free from what you no longer need. The storm reveals what the silence could not. It shakes the false supports. It exposes the shallow roots. It tests the foundations no one else sees. And even though it feels like everything is falling apart, in reality, what's happening is this: God is rearranging your life to match your calling, because there are certain alignments, habits, and internal attachments that were fine in your past season, but they can't survive the elevation you're stepping into now. So the storm comes, unexpected, uncomfortable, and unrelenting. You don't get to control its intensity, but you do get to control your response. And this is where the real transformation happens. Not when everything is going right, but when everything feels uncertain and you still stay rooted. There's a kind of faith God builds in the middle of a storm, not the loud, confident kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind, the kind that whispers, "Even if I can't see the sun, I still trust the one who made it." Oh, this is not the end. It's a clearing. God is making space, removing the unnecessary, collapsing what was built in fear, breaking off attachments that kept your spirit distracted. You prayed for purpose. You asked for alignment. You cried out for breakthrough. But before the promise is planted, the ground must be broken. The storm is not the punishment. It's the plow. It's tearing through the hardened places. It's uprooting what no longer serves you. It's breaking the boxes that once confined your vision. So yes, it hurts. Yes, it's confusing. Yes, some days feel like more loss than gain. But don't mistake divine disruption for divine abandonment. God is in this storm. It is written in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 3. The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Ezen, he has his way in the storm. That means he's moving, not against you, but for you. And that's why everything that can be shaken is being shaken, not to destroy you, but to reveal what cannot be shaken: your identity, your calling, your surrender. These are the things that remain when the dust settles. And sometimes the storm doesn't change your situation. It changes you. It strips off the parts of you that were dependent on control, performance, or comfort. It brings you face to face with what you really believe. It forces you to decide, will I trust God when I don't have the answers? Will I hold on to his word when the world is silent? Will I keep walking when everything says stop? This storm is building a warrior who doesn't flinch under pressure, a warrior who hears God in the chaos, a warrior who walks by faith, not by sight. And when it passes, and it will pass, you will emerge lighter, stronger, clearer, not because the storm was gentle, but because God was faithful. This season has taught you how to pray deeper, how to listen closer, how to release quicker. It has stretched your heart, disciplined your spirit, and matured your vision. And now you're not just walking in anointing, you're walking in authority, because what you've survived has given you access, not to titles but to truth, not to applause but to clarity, not to comfort but to power. And when the winds settle and the thunder fades, you'll look around and realize everything you lost was meant to leave. Everything that remains was meant to stay. So do not despise the storm. It's not a sign that you're off track. It's confirmation that you're being released. And though you didn't ask for the shaking, you'll thank God for what it revealed. Because this storm, this sacred, violent storm, was the very thing that pushed you through the doorway of destiny. And you'll carry its memory with reverence, not resentment, because you'll know it was in the storm that you stopped pretending, stopped performing, and started becoming. It was in the shaking that you finally let go of what couldn't come with you. No one enjoys the breaking, but those who are called, chosen, and marked by God. Don't waste it. You endured it. You stood through it. And now, you rise because of it. The storm was the threshing floor, and what remains is pure, ready, unshakable you. There is a moment in every chosen life where the journey shifts from chasing what's next to becoming who you are. It doesn't happen through noise. It happens in silence. It doesn't begin with a title. It begins with a surrender. This is that moment for you. You've searched long enough. You've reached, prayed, knocked, and stretched. You've asked God to show you what's next. But heaven isn't pointing to a new destination, it's pointing to a deeper revelation of you. Because what God is building now isn't just about where you're going, it's about who you must become to stay there. There are places your current identity cannot enter, not because you're disqualified, but because the real you must emerge before the fullness of destiny can be sustained. So the Spirit has been peeling back the layers, the people-pleasing, the perfectionism, the fear of being misunderstood, the tendency to shrink when others are threatened by your light. These things may have helped you survive, but they cannot help you reign. God is not calling you to maintain, He's calling you to transform. And this transformation is not superficial. It's not about rebranding, It's about remembering who you've always been in the eyes of heaven, before the trauma, before the rejection, before you wore masks just to make others comfortable. Now is the time to come home to your true identity, not the version shaped by fear, not the version molded by survival, not the watered-down expression that fit the room but never fit your spirit. The real you, the one God saw before he placed you in the womb, is being awakened. It is written in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. This is not about finding yourself. It's about uncovering what was never lost to God. Your voice is being restored. Your posture is being raised. Your boundaries are being fortified. Because what's ahead requires you to walk in authority, not hesitation. You can't keep negotiating with insecurity when heaven is handing you the mantle. You have permission to walk tall, not with pride, but with clarity, not with arrogance, but with alignment. Clarity about your worth, alignment with your assignment. You've outgrown environments that could only love the version of you that stayed small. And now, it's time to walk with those who recognize your growth as God's evidence, not a threat. This next chapter will demand courage, not the loud kind, but the rooted kind. The kind that lets you show up as you, even if it makes the room uncomfortable. Because rooms that reject the real you were never meant to hold your destiny. You don't have to beg to be seen anymore. You don't have to explain what God whispered in your spirit. You don't have to prove you're enough. You are enough. Because God said so. Because grace built you. Because fire refined you. Because surrender reshaped you. You are the evidence of God's faithfulness in motion. Your scars, proof of survival. Your insight, forged in silence. Your authority, birthed in private obedience. The world may try to name you based on your past, but heaven calls you by your becoming. Don't be surprised if things start shifting now, people falling away, rooms closing, doors locking. It's not rejection, it's redirection. God is pruning the garden of your life so that only what bears fruit can stay. And in that process, He's awakening the parts of you that you forgot were holy, the parts that stopped dreaming, the parts that once danced freely, the parts that dared to believe something greater was waiting. You haven't missed it. You're not too late. You're exactly where transformation begins, in surrender. Let the false fall away. Let the old labels break. Let the timid voice give way to the prophetic one, rising in your belly. You don't need permission to be who God called you to be. You just need agreement. This is your moment to agree with heaven, to embody the identity hell tried to bury, to wear the crown life tried to steal. Because you're not becoming someone new. You're finally becoming you. And the true you, you are bolder than you thought, kinder than they gave you credit for, wiser than your years, sharper in spirit because of what you've survived. The real you carries both fire and tenderness, discernment and compassion, steel in your spine and softness in your voice. That balance is not accidental, it's divine design. It's the evidence of being shaped by the hands of the Master. So let the old you rest, and let the revealed you rise. The earth is groaning for the appearance of you. Some people won't understand the version of you that's emerging, and that's okay. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be set apart. What God is doing in you now isn't for the masses, it's for the mission. It's sacred. It's refined. It's targeted. You're not becoming more acceptable. You're becoming more authentic. Not diluted, not filtered, but full. This is the season where separation becomes unavoidable, not because of pride, not because you think you're better, but because you're becoming who you really are. And when the real you shows up, everything built on false connection begins to tremble. You've noticed it already. Some conversations no longer feed you. Some rooms feel smaller. Some people who once praised you now pull back. That's not failure. It's filtering. It's heaven's way of preserving the oil on your life. By removing distractions dressed up as loyalty, you've been filtered by fire, by silence, by trials. What remains now is pure. What remains is who God always saw before the pain, before the shaping, before you ever said yes. You are still standing, still chosen, still appointed, still His. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." And that's what's happening. God is uncovering you, not for applause, but for assignment, not for noise, but for impact. Because what He placed in you was never meant to stay hidden. That boldness you buried, He's calling it back. That clarity you suppressed to make others comfortable, He's sharpening it again. That holy fire that once felt too much for the room, He's fanning the flame. You cannot keep hiding what God is revealing. No more apologizing for your growth. No more shrinking to fit someone's expectation. No more withholding what heaven has anointed. For too long, you've waited for confirmation from people who were never meant to validate you. You've tiptoed through callings. You've dressed down your voice. You've asked for permission to move when God already gave the command. But enough. This is the moment where you rise not to be seen, but to be effective. Not for fame, but for fruit. Because when a chosen one rises, things shift. Realms respond. Darkness notices. And that's why the warfare intensified. That's why your battles haven't made sense to others. That's why you've had to pray through things you couldn't post about. But here's the truth. Hell doesn't attack what's irrelevant. You've been fought because you matter. You carry weight in the Spirit. And now, heaven is saying, it's time. Naman, God is releasing you, not recklessly, but strategically, with timing, with backing, with fire. This is not about going viral. It's about going deep. You don't need everyone's attention. You need heaven's affirmation. And you already have it. You've been tested. You've been trusted. Now you will be activated. This next move will not look like anyone else's. It won't make sense on paper, but it will burn in your spirit. You'll know where to go, what to release, who to connect with. Why? Because heaven is guiding this step by step. So don't resist the spotlight God is placing you under. You didn't chase it, it found you. Because obedience placed you in position. Faith kept you in formation. Fire shaped your language. And now the world needs what's been cultivated in you privately. And if your spirit knows this is your moment, if something inside you is stirring as you read this, then mark this moment with faith. Click like if this word resonated with what you've been carrying in silence. Leave a comment below. I'm ready to rise. Let it be a declaration. Let it be an agreement. Share this word with someone who has been shrinking under the weight of their calling. Subscribe to stay connected to this flow, because this is not a moment, it's a movement. And God is speaking to his remnant with clarity. This is your confirmation. Not that you're perfect, not that you're fully prepared, but that you are positioned. You're positioned for impact, positioned for breakthrough, positioned for release. Let them wonder, let them watch, but don't let anything stop you now. Straighten your crown, lift your head, shake off the dust of delay and disqualification. Walk forward, not with fear, but with fire, not to be accepted, but to advance. You carry the sound of deliverance, the oil of the wilderness, the authority of the broken made whole. You don't rise alone. You rise with generations behind you, with angelic assistance beside you, and with heaven's glory before you. You are not a problem. You are a proclamation. You are not just surviving. You are sending a signal into the spirit realm. The chosen ones are awakening. There is a weight that comes with knowing who you are. Not a burden that crushes, but a holy gravity that settles into your bones when you finally stop running from your reflection in God's eyes. This is where you are now. The clarity you prayed for is no longer distant. It's resting quietly in your spirit. You may not have all the details, but you have the confirmation. You may not know the exact steps, but you know who you are becoming. And that alone changes everything. You've stopped begging to be chosen. You've stopped waiting for the world to notice, because now you understand heaven already did. Being chosen doesn't mean you'll be celebrated. Sometimes it means you'll be set apart. It means saying no to what others say yes to. It means walking away from comfort and convenience. It means being misunderstood, not because you're wrong, but because you're right on time, and the time makes people uncomfortable. You've learned how to walk quietly with God while carrying questions that don't have answers. You've learned how to smile in public while bleeding in private. You've learned how to discern what's happening in the spirit, even when your emotions are overwhelmed. And all of that, it wasn't wasted. It was building something sacred, quiet strength, silent resolve, unshakable identity, a deep-rooted conviction that says, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm not who I used to be. No, and even that, especially that, is holy ground. You are walking into rooms now, not for approval, but for assignment. You are entering conversations not to be heard, but to carry weight. You are showing up, not with perfection, but with presence. The presence of someone who has been crushed, refined, and rebuilt with fire. There's a stillness about you now, not because life got easier, but because your soul got stronger. You no longer rush to respond to everything. You no longer feel the need to defend your every decision. You've learned that peace is louder than performance. And when you carry peace, you don't chase clarity, you attract it. People sense it when you walk in. They may not know what it is, but they feel it. Something different, something stable, something settled. That's what happens when you stop living for applause and start living for alignment. You're not just walking into a new season. You're walking into a new standard. You no longer tolerate what drains you. You no longer negotiate with what confuses you. You no longer dim your discernment to protect someone's dysfunction. This is not arrogance. It's awareness. You've been through too much to keep lowering your frequency. You've paid too high a price to question your clarity now. God didn't bring you through the fire to have you bow to familiar bondage. You're not going back, not even in your thoughts, because something in you has clicked. You've seen too much, heard too much, known too much in the spirit to pretend you're average. You're not. You carry weight. Not because you said so, but because God said so. And you finally believed him. And now you walk different. Not because of pride, but because of placement. You know where you belong. You know what no longer fits. You know the sound of God's voice. And you don't trade it for the sound of public validation. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." You've become dangerous to the enemy because you're no longer tossed by every storm. You've become a threat because you don't crumble when misunderstood. You don't fall apart when plans change. You've become anchored not to outcomes, but to truth. And truth has made you free. Not just free from what hurt you, but free from what tried to define you. Free from the roles others needed you to play. Free from the pressure to perform. Free from false expectations and silent agreements that drained your strength. Now, you move in rhythm with heaven. You're not ahead. You're not behind. You're aligned. And alignment is peace. Alignment is clarity. Alignment is power. You don't need to force what's meant for you. You just need to keep walking in truth. Keep showing up with your whole heart. Keep listening more than explaining. Keep obeying more than striving. This is the settled place, the steady place, the place where the chosen ones no longer prove, they simply carry presence. And from this place, you will build what cannot be shaken. You will plant what outlives trends. You will speak what silences confusion. You will walk in rooms and unlock atmospheres. You will pray and watch heaven respond. You will move and see mountains shift. Not because you're loud, but because you're anchored. You've made it through what others didn't survive. Not by luck, not by strength alone, but by grace that never let go. And now, here you are standing in a place few ever reach, the other side of becoming. You've been broken, but not destroyed. Sharpened, but not shattered. You've walked through fire, and somehow, you still carry peace. That's not ordinary. That's not human strength. That's the unmistakable evidence of divine preservation. You may not have realized it at the time, but every trial carved something eternal into your spirit. Every delay, every closed door, every painful goodbye was heaven's way of training your hands for battle and your heart for endurance. God wasn't punishing you, He was positioning you. And now, what's rising from your life is something hell can't counterfeit and man can't take credit for: true authority. This authority doesn't come from a title or a platform. It comes from a place deeper than recognition. It comes from obedience, quiet, daily, consistent obedience. The kind that chooses God when it would be easier to walk away. The kind that worships through tears. The kind that surrenders even when nothing changes. This is why you carry weight in the Spirit, not because of what others see, but because of what only heaven witnessed: your private faithfulness, your late-night prayers, your silent sacrifices, your quiet yes when everything in you wanted to say no. It is written in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And now, beloved, chosen one, the harvest is near, not just a harvest of opportunity, but a harvest of identity. You are beginning to see what God always saw. You're no longer trying to fit in, you're ready to stand apart. You're no longer second-guessing what he whispered in secret. You're ready to walk it out. Because what's ahead is not just for you, it's for those connected to your obedience. You are a bridge, a vessel, a door. Your life will make way for others to enter into their freedom. Your testimony will unlock someone else's breakthrough. You carry more than revelation, you carry release. And as you move forward, you'll do so with intentional steps. Not frantic, not unsure, but rooted, steady, grounded in the truth that your life is not random, and your voice is not wasted. You have been trusted with time, shaped by silence, and now, commissioned by God Himself. You don't need an audience to know this is real. You don't need applause to know it's anointed. Your confirmation is not external, it's internal. It's the peace that follows your steps. It's the fire that burns in your belly. It's the clarity that comes after obedience. And yes, there will still be resistance. The enemy doesn't give up just because you found your footing. But now, you fight differently. You war from a place of victory, not desperation. You stand, not to earn God's favor, but from the confidence that you already have it. You've stopped proving yourself. Now you just move in purpose. You've stopped begging for rooms to receive you. Now you build what heaven tells you to build. You've stopped asking for signs and started trusting the sound of His voice. And with each step, you become more whole, more focused, more refined. The noise fades, but the call gets clearer. You are not who you were, and you're not done yet. What's ahead is sacred. It's weighty. It will stretch you and humble you, but it will also fulfill you in ways performance never could. Because this is not about being seen, it's about being sent. And you are being sent. Sent into places where your words will break chains. Sent into spaces where your worship will open heaven. Sent into silence that's waiting for your sound. Sent into regions that have been dry until your feet touch the ground. You're not going in alone. Heaven is behind you. Angels go before you. Glory surrounds you. The process was never just about you. It was about what would flow through you once you stopped resisting who you really are. Now that you've embraced the cost, you can carry the crown. Now that you've yielded, you can walk in authority. Now that you've been crushed, you can pour out oil. And that oil, it will heal. It will restore. It will remind people that God still chooses, still speaks, still sends. And you, chosen one, are living proof. Chosen one. You've reached the end of this message, but not the end of your journey. In fact, something new is just beginning. If your spirit has been stirred, if tears welled in your eyes, or clarity sparked in your chest, it's not a coincidence. It's confirmation. Heaven has been speaking. And now, it's your turn to respond. This isn't just a message. It's a moment of alignment, a divine appointment between your destiny and your decision. You've heard the call. You've felt the fire. Now, walk in it. You were never meant to watch from the sidelines. You were born to move things in the Spirit. Your obedience shifts generations. Your surrender opens doors. Your voice carries freedom for more than just you. So don't let this word stay on the screen. Let it become movement in your life. If this message confirms something deep inside you, take a step of faith. Click like to say, "This was for me." Share this with someone who needs a reminder that they, too, are chosen. Leave a comment below and declare, "I receive it fully." And if you haven't already, subscribe to stay connected to this flow of prophetic truth, because more is coming. You're not walking alone. You're walking with fire. You're walking with purpose. You're walking with heaven. The shift is already happening. And from this point forward, nothing about you will ever be the same. You are chosen. You are commissioned. You are crowned. Welcome to the rise.